Hey, you got time? Let's work on the Anytime Romper tutorial by Lowland Kids. My name's Kim, and let's get to work. As you can see from this pile, there are quite a few parts to this pattern, and depending on which version you're making will determine how many pieces you're using. Everyone's gonna have this back piece, and then there's the front shorts, and there's the front shirt as well. I'm doing the short sleeve, so 2 sleeves for me, and I am definitely doing the pocket. I'm gonna do it reversed so that the interesting side of the fabric is showing. And then there's also the gusset, the elastic, and a whole lot of bands and binding. I labeled mine, as you can see, so I could keep them straight because otherwise I would definitely be getting them all mixed up. All right, let's get started. First things first, we're going to work on the pocket. I'm using this French terry, and I want the terry side to show just to give some texture to the pocket. So for all intents and purposes, that is my right side. Now I pulled out my labeled binding pieces. So proud of that. I'm actually applying them as bands. So I'm folding it in half, wrong sides together, and then meeting up the raw edge along the curve on both sides, and I will attach it using a serger. And if you don't have a serger, always use a stretch stitch. I prefer a zigzag, or people also like a lightning stitch. So I will serge it on, and once that is completed, then I will top stitch on top after. If you want to apply it as binding and not as bands, I am not showing that in this tutorial, but I have other tutorials I will link, as well as the instructions that come with this pattern have pretty good details about how to do binding, and so you can follow that as well. Okay, so next up is the top. Don't ask why I smoothed it out and then scrunched it up. We're putting the pocket on top. We're going to be folding that top portion half an inch down, pinning that in place, and then taking the waistband, and we're going to sew it onto the bottom of the pocket with the shirt to connect the two. So I'm folding in half once again with the raw edges together. So it's right sides together with the raw edges going, together. And we will sew that across as well on the serger. And here it is sewn, and now I'm going to fold it up, and I just wanted to show you how the serged edge is going to go upward, and I will top stitch. I'm going to be using my cover stitch machine. If you don't have a cover stitch, you can always use a double needle. That's what I recommend. And now you're going to fold it down about half an inch on the top of the pocket, and I'm stitching this across, just doing a top stitch or straight stitch on my sewing machine. I did it at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance right along the top. And there it is, nice and stitched. Don't mind my threads, I usually clip everything at the end. Okay, now we're going to take the back piece, we're going to lay that right side up, and then put the top piece right side down so that they're right sides together, and sew the shoulder seam. If you're going to do regular binding, sew only one shoulder and then attach your binding. I will be doing it the band in the round, so we're going to do both shoulder seams right now, and then I'm going to take the neck band and I'm going to sew that together as well, so it's in a circle. And now we are going to quarter the fabric, so find the 4 equal parts. You can see how I'm folding it in half to find each side point, and then I fold it in half, wrong sides together, so the right sides are showing on both sides, and pin that in place. And now I'm going to go do the same thing with the neck, find the center front and then the center back, meet up the 2 points together, and find the side points. And just as a reminder, the side will pretty much never be the seam on a neck, so make sure you have it just outside of that part. And then you're going to take the seam on the neckband and put that in the back, and then everything else, just match them up. When you go to sew this, you are going to be stretching the neckband to fit within the hole. You don't want to stretch the fabric of the actual bodice, just the neckband to make it fit. And once you're done with that, you will top stitch it as well. All right, here we are. Now it is time for the sleeves. If you are doing no sleeves, then you will bind the arm section. If you're doing sleeves, then go ahead and lay the sleeve right sides together, so right side down on top of the top. I often like to fold my sleeve in half and put a pin in it to find that middle spot and match that up with the seam on the shoulder. and then just go ahead and sew along that edge there. And when you're sewing sleeves, it feels awkward because there's like a horseshoe shape and a rainbow shape, and how are they supposed to match? But like, they fit, promise you. Next up are the shorts, and we're going to apply the elastic. So I loved the idea of having about an inch extra of elastic on each side, and so I marked where the end of the fabric needed to be, so how big the elastic technically needed to be, and then I pinned that on either side. You can see that the elastic is a lot smaller than the pants. That's because we got to scrunch them up, right? Make them fit. So I'm pinning them in place on there, and when I take it to the machine, I'm going to stretch it to fit, and I'm going to serge it on with my knife down. And the purpose of having that inch in the back is to have something to hold on to. So you hold on in the back just to kind of stabilize everything, and then you stretch the elastic till it's making the fabric just straight, till it's totally flat. And then serge it right on. Once again, knife get down just so you don't cut your elastic off. And after that's completed, then I'm going to fold it downward. Oh, and by the way, the elastic is being sewn to the wrong side of the fabric, just so you know. And then you're going to fold it down to cover up that elastic. And I'm pinning and clipping the elastic down just so that I'm making sure it's folding down in the right spot. This is to assure I won't get puckers. So I kind of stretch it out and then pin that spot. And once that's completed, then I'm going to top stitch on my cover stitch machine. And you will need to do the same method of holding on in the back and stretching it as you go. Before the elastic comes out the backside though, I'm usually using the threads I hold onto the thread to pull it through, and then I grip the elastic after that. Anytime you're doing this top stitch with elastic especially, you just want to make sure that your fabric to the side is going straight out and not curving towards you, like pulling towards you, so that you don't get any puckers. Now, once that's done, it's time to assemble the garment. So I'm putting the shirt, the top of it, right side down to the back side, lining up the like that armpit area, and then I'm also sticking a pin at the top of the pocket and at the very bottom of the binding on the shirt. Pinning it on both sides, making sure everything is lined up nicely. And once that's set up, then we're going to put the pants down, right sides together as well, and start on one side and pin it from the bottom all the way up. I basically put a pin at the bottom, a pin at the top. It should land like right above the pocket if you did the pocket. And then I replaced the pins from the shirt and just included the pants into it. So I just redid those pins, as you can see me doing right here. And once all of that is pinned in place, then you can go ahead and sew it. Just to make sure everything was nice and, I don't know, tight, I actually went over the section that has the pants and the shirt twice. I just wanted to make sure it was really secure. And then you're also going to hem your sleeve if you did a sleeve like mine, or add the cuff if you were doing the long sleeves. All right, here is the side seams all the way done. And next we're going to work on the gusset. So I zoomed in on this, you can see it a little bit better, but you're going to take the gusset piece, put it down right sides along one of the pant crotch seam areas, and attach it, sew it right on. And once it is attached, it'll look like this. Now, if you're doing the binding method, at this point you would bind the legs. Since I'm doing it the band in the round method, then I'm going to sew the gusset on the other side right now. And once that's all the way done, I have the two leg holes. Now I'm going to sew my bands into rounds as well. So put them right sides together and sew each end. And now we're going to quarter the fabric. Actually, I think I only did them in half because that was enough for me. Fold them in half, and we'll apply it right sides together with the raw edges meeting up and sew them on. So just kind of the same step over again. I showed applying this a little bit different than I ended up doing it. I adjusted it after the fact and made it so that the seam on the band was matching up with one of the seams in the gusset. So set it up how you would like it to be, but I realized after pinning that I didn't quite like how it looked, and so I just adjusted that slightly. And if you haven't already, be sure to hem your sleeve if you're doing the short sleeve like me. And at this point, we're done. It looks so nice. Here's where the opening is, where you put on the pants and the shirt. I found that by putting the top on first and then slipping the pants after, that was the easiest method for me. But I think it's so cute. I love this romper that's really easy to access for diaper changes or going potty. And here's my son riding around in it. He loved it. He thought it was so cozy. His favorite thing was the pocket for sure. He loved the way that turned out. So here's a full look, and I hope yours turned out great. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and otherwise you have a great day. Bye. If you liked what you saw, I have a bunch of other videos on this channel that you can check out as well. And you can follow me on Instagram at Come Create with Kim. See you next time.